Names have always been a sign of power,
Say my name.
and no other name has been echoed in the financial world as often as Rothschild. The Rothschild name has been synonymous with wealth for centuries now, and it's no surprise that they persisted considering their collective net worth of $400 billion. In this video, we'll be documenting the Rothschild family's rise to prominence and how they came to afford all the companies in the stock market. Stick around because you might just find some shocking truths. Blast to the past. We weren't kidding when we said the Rothschild family name has been powerful for centuries. But before they were powerful, they were ridiculed years ago. Let's take a look back at scenic 10th century Europe, where the pies are fresh and the people are prejudiced. Christianity ruled during these years, having no separation of church and state. In fact, at this point, the church was the state. This meant that if you were holy, then you were royal. And if you were non-Christian, then you're basically dirt. And this applied to the Jewish community. At the time, Jews were being scrutinized left and right and pushed out of large communities. Because of this scrutiny, the Jews would often settle scattered in sects, most of which were found in the Holy Roman Empire. While the Roman Empire was kinder to the Jews, there was still a lot of scrutiny to go around. Instead of being given proper housing, these Jews were forced to live in specific villages called ghettos. It's here where the Rothschild family would find its roots. Rothschild, whose name translates to red shield in German, found its footing in finance. That's because as rich and lofty as the Christians were living at the time, their values specifically disallowed the lending of money with interest. If you lent 50 euros, then you were getting 50 euros back with no interest. Of course, this wasn't true for the Jewish community, and they now had a source of income that only they could exploit. Rothschild were among the many families that saw this business opportunity and took it, passing down financial skills from generation to generation. But unlike the other rich lenders at the time, they would seize greatness. Rothschild regime. Although the Jewish ghettos had a lot of financial institutions, each family had their own expertise. The Rothschilds specialized in trading foreign currency and exchanging collectible coins, a commodity that was valued by aristocrats for their collectability. Heading the operations in 1763 was Meyer Rothschild, and he handled the business well. Meyer had inherited the family business and had amassed an extensive collection of coins that caught the eyes of a lot of wealthy aristocrats. With frequent sales and amazing people skills at the time, many aristocrats grew fond of Meyer's services. One of these wealthy aristocrats, by the name of Wilhelm IX of Hesse, became a frequent customer and friend of Meyer, and soon rose to power in 1785, appointing Meyer as his financial manager, distastefully called his court Jew. As distasteful as the name was, being a court Jew gave you a ton of benefits. First, you would be offered protection by royalty. Second, you'd be given a hefty salary. Third, you'd be given the chance to gain nobility. And if you've seen any medieval media, then you know how powerful nobility can be. Meyer was put in charge of handling Wilhelm's finances. This arrangement would go smoothly until the year 1805, when Napoleon would invade Hesse, seizing the land for his army and driving Wilhelm into exile. But as with any great financial manager, he was prepared for Napoleon's eventual invasion. Just 7 years prior to Napoleon's arrival, Meyer would send his son, Nathan Rothschild, to London, and along with him, most of Wilhelm's fortune, using that money as lending capital to the British, cleverly funding Napoleon's eventual downfall. But as forward-thinking as Meyer was, no one could defeat Father Time. Meyer Rothschild would pass away in 1812, but not before successfully laying a great foundation for the Rothschild family, and it was now up to the next generation to keep the money flowing. Being a family business tied to the family name, Meyer Rothschild was merely a stepping stone for the next generation, and his influence would be kept alive. Nathan was already in London getting chummy with the nobles there. Now all that's left were his siblings. Amschel would take over the business in Germany for his father, Salomon would handle Vienna, Karl would handle Naples, and James in Paris. As far away as they were from each other, their ideals never strayed far away. In fact, they all had the same game plan as their father. Land wasn't the only thing money could buy. It could also buy favors and influence. The Rothschild brothers would use their amassed wealth to gain the trust of powerful aristocrats and local governments, earning their place as their respective financial advisors. Their wealth was growing substantially, and with it, their influence. Soon, the five brothers would be so trusted by nobility that they would gain nobility themselves, eventually turning the family name into a noble house. This level of respect among other aristocrats made the Rothschild house stable. Every time a volatile government collapsed, they would be there ready to fund the next government. As they say, no one protests and takes down governments like the French. While the Rothschilds were investing in their reputation with the government, they were also making a few private investments for themselves. The Rothschilds purchased major vineyards and wineries in France, and even purchased a minor stake in the Suez Canal, one of the most used ship routes in the world. The Rothschild name was set up to be a grand name, but there were bound to be a few bumps on the road to success. Future failures. As the new generation rolled in, the Rothschild family name was met with a lot of challenges, the biggest of which came in the form of World War II. While some branches were closing down due to a lack of successors, the Rothschild head group in Germany were now being forced out. Nazis and Jews don't really blend well together. The Rothschild company now had to jump ship and sell their assets, but they also had to pay a huge ransom to Hitler himself. Heck, Hitler even forcibly took some luxurious assets for himself. This series of events would drive the company to the brink of bankruptcy, but this would not spell the end. After the World War, Rothschild was trying to lick its wounds, and the best person to take the reins would be the British branch of the Rothschild family. After the World War, the Rothschilds would still hold a position of power in the British Parliament. Their long-standing nobility granted them the trust of many politicians, even being tasked to handle the finances of the late Queen Elizabeth. Today, Jacob Rothschild is now heading the financial sector of the family, and while they weren't as rich as the superpowers today, they were far from poor nor powerless. Back in action. With a staggering net worth of $400 billion, Jacob Rothschild takes a modern approach to finance. While the investments that the company had centuries ago are still held true today, modern money is in the stock market, and that's exactly where Jacob plans to take the family jewels. Rothschild & Co. provides financial services to corporations, governments, and individuals worldwide, including mergers and acquisitions advisory, restructuring, capital raising, and wealth management services. While the Rothschild Group may have investments in various companies through its various business activities, these investments are often not publicly disclosed in detail. Jacob himself has taken it upon himself to establish multiple shell companies to diversify his company's stake in multiple companies, but some of the big players in the industry come to mind. As of this writing, the Rothschild Company owns stakes in companies like Apple, Nvidia, Microsoft, Google, JP Morgan, and multiple trading funds such as BlackRock and Invesco. The company also invests in land and owns multiple wineries throughout the world. The Rothschild family is the greatest example of the idea that money cannot buy everything. Of course, money can be the capital you need to start your business or invest in your wealth, but it's influence and cooperation that earns you the capital in the first place. This is seen in Meyer Rothschild's early years and even Jacob Rothschild's willingness to work with bigger companies. All this boils down to the Rothschilds family motto, Concordia, Integritas, Industria, which translates to harmony, integrity, and industry, all of which are the cornerstone that holds up the company to become the financial institution it is today.